Okay, hello and welcome to the August 24th, 2021 Tuesday night reading. Um, I write romances, right? And so the book that I'm reading from is my sixth book. It's called Renaissance. So there's a couple of storylines, and one of the first storylines is about Paz and Torquil. And Paz has just come back to Walkerville after a 10-year absence. And Torquil is he's moved into town. He's Scottish. He's an attorney. And they have fallen in love. She rubbed his thigh with her left foot, and he made a quiet groaning noise. She didn't hear him as she asked curiously, "Torquil, I've been thinking of people and their callings. I think Gramps' calling was to the land, to farm. Mom's calling is to the land too. Plus she loves her garden. It brings her peace and purpose. I think a Bendigo's was to be an attorney and to help people get out of jams. Kind of like he did for Rowan with that thing about Bartholomew Landing and my family when they went to camp or when they came back from camp. Although, come to think of it, that wasn't Ab but his great-grandfather that did all that. But maybe that's how Ab learned to help other people." Legs still on his lap, she leaned forward, hands on her chin. "Has being an attorney always been your calling?" Oop, I just lost my place. Hang on just a second. Okay, so, he leaned over, putting strands of hair behind her ears to see her lovely face more clearly. "When I was 10 years old, my dad, who's a plumber, got robbed in broad daylight. He hardly carried cash, so all he had were his tools and his work truck, which was also our family vehicle. The kids were looking for drug money, and they stole the tools and they drove his van into a store window with my dad in the back, bleeding because they'd beat him up for not having any cash." He turned to look into the distance, retrieving his memory. "The owner of the store wanted to sue my dad for breaking his window and other damages. My dad had a long-time customer, Thomas Cuttleridge. Mr. Cuttleridge owned some rentals, and he had my dad on retainer as the building's plumber. Dad called him for advice. You see, Thomas Cuttleridge was an attorney. He came to our home one evening, all posh in a grand gray suit and highly polished cordovan leather shoes and a rich brown leather briefcase. At the kitchen table, he gave my dad a check for £5,000 from the store owner. Turns out the store owner had been to see Mr. Cuttleridge about suing my dad. What he told the store owner was that my dad could actually sue him, that having his store sit in the way of the robbery, giving the thugs time to hightail it out of the van with my dad still inside, bleeding, actually made him liable. And did he still think he wanted to pursue the case? Also, he said that my dad could sue him for defamation of character, since the store owner was telling everybody my dad was a wanker plumber." Torquil grinned at the memory. "I was a 10-year-old kid listening from the top of the stairs. I never got over seeing this refined older man, although looking back on it, he wasn't much older than I am right now. He was so sure of himself, so kind to my dad and Mom. The store owner gave my dad the check to not sue him. So yeah, being an attorney's a calling. I want to be there for someone like my dad, just trying to support his family." He added, "I saw my dad look at Thomas Cuttleridge with so much respect and awe, as if he couldn't believe this great man had done this for him. I wanted my dad to look at me like that." Torquil held Paz closer. Has he ever looked at you like that? She asked quietly, looking up at him. She traced his profiled nose with her forefinger. He nodded and blushed. Once. I was visiting home. One of Maisie's boyfriends got nicked for walking out of a store and forgetting to pay for his beer. It was his first offense. I went with the magistrate with him. Got him off with a warning. The whole family went there to watch me work, so they said. When I looked back and saw them all cheering after the verdict, I saw that same look on my dad's face that he gave Thomas Cuttleridge. She smiled up at him. Great story. Tit for tat, Paz, Torquil challenged. What's your calling? She squirmed anxiously in his grasp. She tried to relax and respond to his question. No one's ever asked me that. So that's the beginning of the romance between Torquil and Paz. And then we have Ruth and Trevor, and we, had Ruth and Trevor's story in book 3, I think it was. And now they're in the process of getting married. And remember, Ruth is that planner. She wanted to, she's got her own business. She's got, owns her own home. She's, like in her late 20s. I mean, she's got it together, right? So she wants her wedding to be perfect. And this is kind of a lesson. Ruth wanted to be married in a white gown with a huge bouquet of orange blossoms and champagne-colored roses. She wanted 3 bridesmaids in peach sleeveless midi dresses. She wanted the octagon to be decorated with roses, baby's breath, and champagne-colored tulle ribbon. She wanted the 8 surrounding redwood trees to stream silk hand-dyed champagne ribbons and to flutter in the wind. She wanted 2 flautists and a violinist just behind the wedding stand. She was a mess of wants and wild demands for perfection. Francis, this is Ruth. Where's Rowan? She demanded. She'd followed directions and called Francis. His warm voice came over the phone line. Hi, Ruth. They went for a little R&R. They've been working like crazy for the past 6 months. They'll be back tomorrow night. Ruth started to weep. But they can't do that. I need to measure the octagon to see how many runner rugs I need. She heard Francis talking with somebody, probably Fiona. One of the twins was wailing in the background. It took Ruth a moment to realize Francis had traded a baby so that Fiona could talk with her. As always, Fiona would know what to say. Oh, Fiona, she groaned. I don't remember you getting so crazy when you were planning your wedding. I feel completely insane. I just want to get this over with. Why did I want such a perfect wedding? Fiona laughed. You want a perfect wedding because you're Ruth. But it's time to just let go for a while. All of this preparation is like spending the whole day cooking a scrumptious dinner, and it all gets eaten up in 20 minutes. Blowing her nose, Ruth giggled. Thanks for talking me down. Poor Trevor. I left him at the house when I was demented. Do you think he still wants to marry me? Sensibly, Fiona reminded her. Silly girl. He came back from hell to be with you, didn't he? Why don't you go home and apologize to him? You've got Trevor. The wedding's just topping on the cake. Remember that. I had to keep reminding myself that I loved Francis and that we were already committed to each other. The wedding was just for our family and friends, kind of like the 2 of you. Ruth sighed. She was silent for a while, feeling the late morning sun warm her. Thanks, Fiona. And after a moment's hesitation, she added, and you tell Francis he was a coward to hand you the phone. Fiona laughed. You should have seen him. He looked like a deer in the headlights. He doesn't know what to do with me when I'm crying. Well, anyway, Fiona, where do they go? Ruth inquired again. Don't know. Rowan called Francis early Friday morning, asking if he'd be the emergency contact since they needed to take a 48-hour break from the business. You can't really blame them with all the construction and all the catering that Bree's been doing. Ruth nodded, agreeing. You're right. I have to stop feeling like I'm the only person in the world who ever got married. Fiona chuckled. Wait till you have kids. You'll feel like the only woman who's ever given birth. And they both laughed in agreement. Ruth continued to sit on the sunny porch for a bit longer, inhaling the sweet redwood aroma and feeling the sun bless her head. She remembered she'd been forgetting to breathe. So those are the two readings from the book Renaissance. And I think I said that last night that this was my most favorite book to write so far. Then I'm thinking about book 9, which I'm in, the draft form of, that I really love. And I probably love Rewire, which is the next book I'm going to be reading from. So I like them all, which is kind of a good thing, isn't it? So I want to thank you for joining me. And don't forget to look below underneath all of this stuff. It helps if you are on YouTube and you click like for us. And you'll find out how you can get in touch with us with your questions and feedback. And you can also just leave me a message or send me an email through ykwrites@gmail.com or Facebook. I'm hoping that next month in September we'll have ourselves on Twitter and Instagram. NAC, the factotum. Our factotum is going to be archiving all of these live readings, and there's a link for for that playlist below this on YouTube link. And he's also got the link for tomorrow night's live stream. So I will be back tomorrow night, Wednesday, the 25th of August, and I may start reading from the next book, Rewire, or I may read another piece from Renaissance. Not sure yet. Thank you and good night.
Clear.